Hey guys, welcome to Star Wars Timeline. My name is Ben. In today's character highlight, we're discussing Ulic Qel-Droma, one of my all-time favorite Star Wars characters. This video will be broken into several sections. First, I'll give you a character synopsis, where he's from, and what his general story is like. Then we'll discuss his personality traits, as well as his Force abilities. Then I will give you my personal reaction to this character, my impression of him. And at the end, I will talk about what I hope to see in the future with this character. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your time. Please consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my series of these character highlights. Without further ado, let's jump in and start talking about his character story. Ulic Qel-Droma originates in a popular Dark Horse comic book called The Tales of the Jedi. It was published between 1993 and 1998. It covers the era of the days of the Old Republic, roughly 4,000 years before the events of the movies. Those of you guys who play the Knights of the Old Republic video games Part 1 and 2 from BioWare, as well as their popular MMORPG, The Old Republic, will know that the video games share the same setting as this comic book. It's a sweeping journey, and we see Ulic Qel-Droma go through many transformations. He becomes this warlord of Empress Theta system early on, but later joins the Jedi Knight Order. And he also falls to the dark side and becomes the Lord of the Sith at one point. He's originally from the planet Alderaan, which many of us know. Him and his brother Kay were the sons of the Jedi Master Ulic Qel-Droma. Early on, we know that he fights in the Beast Wars on Alderaan, and later on, Ulic actually joins these Beast Riders, and he understands that they have some kind of worship of the dark side. In battle against King he joins with a novice Numi Sin Rider, this young prominent Jedi, and he falls in love with her. They become a couple. When his master Jeth fell in battle, Ulic swore to infiltrate and destroy an evil cult called the Karth Cult. Ulic's initial plan is only to infiltrate and stop this evil cult, but Warlord Saddle Keto's rage-inducing poison affects his mind, and Ulic falls to the dark side. He kills his former master, and he assumes control of this cult. He joins forces with another former Jedi called Exar Kun, and both are proclaimed Sith Lord by this ancient Sith spirit. They consolidate their power, and he subjugates Mando warrior clans, and he launches a full attack on Coruscant. Later on, he's betrayed by his lover Alima Keto, who is actually the cousin of the former cult leader Satal Keto. He's considered a war criminal, and he needs to stand trial. But this doesn't happen because he's rescued by Exar Kun and Mandalore the Indomitable. He launches a full-on new campaign of terror. Ulic and Exar Kun attack the Jedi fortress on Ossus. And he actually challenges and kills his own brother Kay before his own friends. It's actually a very dramatic scene in the comic book, and we know that from this point forward, there's seemingly no way back. There is no path to redemption with Ulic Qel-Droma. Shortly after this tragic event, his former lover Nomi Sunrider severs his connection to the Force. Ulic repents, and he actually abandons the Sith ways. He wants to redeem himself, and he takes all of the Jedi to Exar Kun's stronghold on Yavin 4. And there they do their final fateful duel with the Dark Lord of the Sith, where he is defeated. Ulic exiles himself to a planet called Ranvar, but later on, he's actually found by Nomi's daughter, Vima Sunrider, and he agrees to instruct her in the Jedi ways. It's a very similar scene that we see in The Last Jedi, where Luke Skywalker actually decides to train Rey. Next, let's discuss his personality traits as well as his Jedi powers. We know that in the beginning of the story, he's a very pure of heart young man. There's a lot of purpose to him, and he is very uncorrupted. While he appears very arrogant to outsiders, his very close friends understand that he's very confident and he's very sure of his skills. He is very strong though, just like Luke Skywalker, but he always believes what he's doing is right. Jedi Master Arca just said to him once that his overconfidence and his extreme courage cloud his judgment sometimes, and he needs to take a step down and learn some humility, because this is a disservice to himself as well as other fellow Jedi members. He always gives his 100% to whatever task he's currently doing. And he believed from the beginning that he could do better than others. He always respected his master. So you can understand that he's a complex man, where he shows up as a very arrogant and headstrong in one aspect. In other aspects, he actually demonstrated some humility and reverence for the elders. And he always wanted to prove to his master that he's talented, that he's capable, and he always wanted to prove his worth to his master. He also believed later, when he joins the evil cult, that he could resist the taint of the dark side, and he could understand it, as many Jedi after him also believed they could do, and obviously they all have failed, and so does he. In terms of his Jedi abilities, we know that he has natural talent with the Force from the start, and he's a very, very quick and able learner. We know that he has the ability to see through the Force, and it helps him to fight blinded. So early on in his training, we know that he's a very formidable lightsaber wielder, and his specific form is called Gemsaw form. He trains to fight blindfolded, so with a reliance on the Force and also his natural physical ability, he learned to anticipate his enemy moves expertly. We know that he's also in full top physical condition. He's very agile, he's highly precise with his lightsaber attacks, and he's lightning fast with his reflexes. We also know that he has basic understanding of some healing and first aid applications, and he actually helps his brother Kay at one point. Now, let's move on to the next part of this video and discuss my personal impression. So, I learned about these characters and the story of the Tales of the Jedi after I read the Jedi Academy trilogy from Kevin J. Anderson, and after playing the video game originally in 2003, Knights of the Old Republic. That's where I first heard the term, but then I realized it was actually coined before the video games came out. And I wanted to take a more in-depth look at the setting of what's going on. And even though the comic books have completely different characters from what we see in the video games, the setting is the same. It provided a lot of context, a lot of world building, and a lot of lore of what's going around in Ulic Qel-Droma and what is also happening later on with Darth Malak and Darth Revan. What I really, really enjoyed about this character is that Ulic is a very complex person, as I mentioned before. He goes through many, many character arcs, from somebody who is innocent and pure and good to someone who is misguided, and he becomes a crusader and eventually falls to the dark side and becomes a villain. He becomes a full-blown Sith Lord, next to perhaps my favorite villain of all Star Wars, Exar Kun. So he covers all of these extreme spectrums, but they're done very dynamically and they're expertly written. You know, it's very convincing, all of the emotional and spiritual journey that he goes through. And whereas arguably, you know, the Revenge of the Sith, Anakin's fall to the dark side felt a little bit rushed for some of the fans, we enjoyed the aspects of the Clone Wars television show where we see this natural progression and we see how Anakin slowly loses faith in the Republic, which was tremendous. It was amazing. And I felt that it added a lot of context to the prequel trilogy. So you could treat this Tales of the Jedi comic books in the same way. When you see Ulic Qel-Droma's fall to the dark side and later on his redemption, it's never rushed. So that really impressed me back in the day. His transformation, as I mentioned, was very convincing. And his redemption arc, I gotta say, is probably one of my favorites, once again, of all of the Star Wars. Obviously, I'm very biased towards this Tales of the Jedi comic book. I'm a huge, huge fan of it. As many of the Legends comic books that I've read, I still read a lot of modern Star Wars canon. It remains to this day my favorite Star Wars comic. As I mentioned before, it's also a very sweeping tale. It begins where the Jedi are at their height to some tremendous galaxy-changing events and a lot of drama, a lot of warfare, and a lot of tragic events which transform not only this character, but the entire galaxy around him. And I really enjoyed it a lot. I also liked that Ulic Qel-Droma was such a powerfully constructed character that doesn't rely on the Skywalker saga. You know, in the modern day Disney era Star Wars, you know, Kathleen Kennedy and the creative group, they emphasize the point that Skywalker bloodline is essential to Star Wars. Well, I respectfully disagree. Obviously, we all grew up with Star Wars. We revere the character of Luke Skywalker, but I just appreciate it, and I think it works the best for Star Wars when new writers come around and they use the familiar tropes and the familiar genre which Star Wars is known for, but is able to create a completely fresh set of heroes and villains to confront them. And this is what Ulic Qel-Droma and this is what Exar Kun represented to me, and I reveled in it, and I couldn't get more. At the end of the day, what I really enjoyed about his story is that it's a very relatable and a heartbreaking story. You know, we all could relate to the desire to excel and prove our elders wrong, or get their approval in general. You know, our belief in ourselves, and how sometimes that could be a good thing, or sometimes it could be distracting or even lead you down to the dark path. You know, we all deal with anger and heartbreak, and we all want a peace of mind. And this is what Ulic Qel-Droma, through his actions, attains at the end of his tale. So I was, as you could tell, very, very impressed with his story. I loved everything about him, from his character design in the comic book, the way he looks like very heroic poses in the comic book covers, to his storyline. He was really, really interesting. So the last segment of this video is, what do I hope to see in the future? Well, first and foremost, some of you may have seen this teased picture of the Tales of the Jedi logo passing around between Disney executives and workers, people who actually work for the company. They showed like a little folder with the logo of the Jedi, Tales of the Jedi, being presented there. And now there's a rumor going around from the Star Wars composers and musicians and other people who work for the franchise. There's potentially a new Star Wars animated show coming out. My hopes are that they actually lean on something like Star Wars Visions, and they saw potential in Star Wars non-canonized storytelling. And they could say, hey, why don't we pull something for Star Wars Legends, right? Because we do acknowledge, Disney has officially acknowledged that there's a Legends aspect of Star Wars, and there is a canon aspect of Star Wars, which we're now telling. They have never discarded the Legends material, and the easiest proof to that is prominent characters like Thrawn, going from all the way from Legends and actually appearing in the Star Wars Rebels show, as well as having a slew of his own books now, written by no other by Timothy Zahn, the original creator of this character back in Legends. So if this happened once, why can't this happen again? I would really love to see Tales of the Jedi animated show. This would be absolutely amazing. And if they go that route, I actually would enjoy if they innovated somewhat, but they maintained the heart and soul of this storyline, and they adhered to the main characters like Ulic Qel-Droma, his brother, his lover, Nomi Sunrider, and obviously Exar Kun, which actually Ulic Qel-Droma and Exar Kun, for those of you guys who may not know, those characters have been officially canonized. If you go to Star Wars Wikipedia, you will see that their names have been dropped in official Star Wars canon material, so at the very least we know that those characters existed before. So once again, we have a precedent where a potential Tales of the Jedi storyline could continue on Disney+. My other things that I would hope to see with this character is that to see their descendants, let's say in a Star Wars canon, they decide not to pursue these prominent older characters, maybe out of respect for the Star Wars authors who came before and they created their own stories, and the new writers just don't feel like, hey, we're going to take these characters and tamper with them and tamper with the story. Maybe that's not what the fans want. I understand that, but what they could do is actually take Ulic Qel-Droma's descendant, or Vima Sunrider's, his pupils' descendants, and tell new stories revolving around them. It's enough of a disconnect from Star Wars Legends, but once again, that kind of name would give fans such as myself some kind of connection to stories that we loved before. And I would personally be even more invested. You know, I don't mind when I read Star Wars canon books like The High Republic, which features entirely new characters. That's cool. But it would also be nice to see a character that harkens back to something that I love from my late 90s and early 2000s readings, and I could, you know, pick up a brand new book and, like, I don't know, Jedi Qel-Droma, like, oh my god, what is this? Is this from the past? This would be really, really awesome. And the last but not least, we know that Dark Horse is coming back to publish more Star Wars tales. To which capacity, now there's a rumor going around that they will actually handle the young adult versions of the High Republic novels. There's other rumors going about. I don't see why Dark Horse could just adapt and continue other Legends novels and then say, like, hey, here's Tales of the Jedi comic book that a lot of Legends fans enjoy and people remember to this day. Why don't we take that for a spin and create a brand new comic book tale which revolves with these older characters? That would be really, really awesome. So my final point is, obviously, being a huge video gamer that I am, if we can't get a full Ulic Qel-Droma video game, because let's face it, guys, not all modern fans know this character, and people would scratch their head and ask, who is this character? What is the Tales of the Jedi? I don't know about that. I'd rather work with something that's canon and new. You know, that's arguably reasonable. That's some people just, they don't want to be confused about all of the stuff that came before. They feel intimidated by 40+ year rich history of storytelling, and they just want to, like, just a little bit of a taste. So I could imagine a scenario where we have some kind of a Star Wars multiplayer game or Star Wars fighting game. Remember Soul Calibur, the Namco fighting game, featured Star Wars characters like Starkiller, Vader, and Yoda, and there were guest characters in Soul Calibur 4. What if we have another scenario where a video game which is suitable for guest appearances would have Ulic Qel-Droma as a guest character there? Because at that point, nobody would care if the game is canon or not canon. Maybe it's not a story-centric video game, and it actually has enough room to bring Legends characters like Mara Jade, Ulic, Exar Kun, and mix them with actually modern canon characters and pit them all together versus one another. That would be a really cool scenario. I would be really happy to see that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed my character highlight of one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Please let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Ulic Qel-Droma? Did his transformation of character from good to villain and back to the light, was it as convincing to you guys as it was to me? Did you make connections between that comic book and Knights of the Old Republic setting as I did? And tell me in general what you like about this character. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, if you like my content, please like this video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time.